Good morning and welcome to Tuesday Morning Crosstalk with Minister Becca from Freedom Church of the Poor and Pastor Connie from First United Methodist in Corning. And we come to you on Tuesday mornings to try and share something that we heard on Sunday that we think might amuse, amaze, or help you get through the week. So this week I was preaching on that old familiar story of Joseph and his brothers and that coat of many colors. This is the Hollywood version of that coat, but this is probably a more realistic version because the colors from the Bible times would have been made from dead insects and plants, and they weren't that Hollywood brightness. So here's this Joseph with 11 brothers and one sister, and he gets given this robe that gives him authority. It's hard for us to imagine. It meant he was the boss. It meant he was the most important person in that family. And the long sleeves and the long robe, that meant that he was not supposed to do manual labor. It meant he was too good to do manual labor, and others should be doing that. So that's what his brothers are tending sheep, and they have tunics with short sleeves and short hems, and so that they can do the dirty work, so to speak. So there's a lot of rivalry, and here they are out in the field, and they see Joseph coming with this beautiful coat on, and they decide, okay, oh yeah, he had these dreams and he told them that they were going to worship him. That didn't help his case at all. So they see him coming to check on them when they're tending the sheep, and they get this idea in their head, okay, we've had just about enough of him. Let's kill him. And they come up with a plan, but then it depends on which version you read. One, Judah intervenes, the other one, Reuben intervenes. Anyway, they say, no, we're not going to kill him. We're just going to put him in this empty well and just leave him. But then they're eating supper and they see this a band of traders coming. Ah, let's sell him. We can make money. And then when and there's two versions. In one version they sell him to the traders, and the other one the traders are passing by and they steal him out of the pit. At any rate, he ends up in Egypt, which is serving God's cause in this whole story. These stories were told to show us how God intervened with human beings. And we know this story is a setup for the rest of the story when they get to Egypt. And because this is how the people of the day understood God. God always had a long range plan and was always able to make good things happen, even when bad things made a happy ending look impossible. And that remains a good lesson for us to learn, sort of. In the Old Testament, God is in charge of everyone and everything, and God does have a long range plan. And no matter how things turn out, it was the way God wanted it. So you got to take it with a grain of salt, but to know that God is always with us and always there for us to turn to no matter what. And this story does have this is from Genesis 37, and in Genesis 39 there is a happy ending, a little happy ending. And so just keep that in mind. He gets sold into slavery, but it all works out for him in the end. So just remember, God is with us, and enjoy the stories for the way God was understood in Old Testament times. Take it away, Becca.
Thank you so much for that, Connie. I've really been enjoying this walk through Genesis with you. I appreciate that a lot. We had a really powerful gospel lesson that Mother Linda preached on at Grace Episcopal this weekend, but I'm going to take us to our Old Testament lesson because it's one of my favorites. And I think it's really interesting that it starts out with, now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. So now we are looking quite a bit into the future. And at this point, the Israelites are really growing and becoming powerful and starting to really scare the Egyptians. The Egyptians are like, we got to do something, because if we go to war, these guys are going to gang up against us and we're going to be in super big trouble. So one of the ideas that they have is that they know that there is a midwife that helps the Hebrew women when they go into labor. Their names are Shiphrah and Puah. And they, as far as I am concerned, are the earliest example in the Bible that we have of true nonviolent civil disobedience. Pharaoh's like, they have a boy. Just kill the boy. Bash it. I don't care. Do what you got to do. Kill the boys. But let the girls live. That'll be okay. Because then they're going to be weaker. They're not going to be as strong because they're all going to be a bunch of women. But Shiphrah and Puah were like, nah. God told me I can't do that. But instead of telling that to Pharaoh, you can't say that kind of a thing to Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, why have you done this and allowed all the boys to live? And they say, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwives can come to them. Bald-faced lying to the Pharaoh to save the Israelite babies. And I think that is just really important. I love to carry this story in my heart when I think about some of the work that we do, especially when it comes to serious injustice. We have people right now that are standing outside of detention centers where families are being held, children are being held. And it's our turn to stand up. Whether we got to lie to Pharaoh or not, we have to stand up and protect those children. And I really appreciate this reading in particular. It goes on to introduce Moses. This is actually the passage that also brings Moses into the story. So we have the midwives who are saving the male babies. And then we have this mother who puts her baby in a basket and floats him on the river. And he ends up getting rescued by Pharaoh's family. So it's a couple of different ways that they express their disobedience to the fact that Pharaoh thought all these children should die, and a way to bring this new family into a new creation. And I just think that's such a powerful story. And I think it's fascinating to think about the pain that we're reading in your story. And I am a firm believer that God takes bad things and makes them into good. And now we've come into this part of the story. And thinking about what Moses goes through before he becomes the liberator of his people. So a lot on all sides of that for sure. In our gospel lesson also, it was a really important one this week. This is the one where they are asked, where the disciples are talking to Jesus, and Jesus is like, well, who do they say I am? Who do you say I am? Peter, you're going to be the rock I build this church on. And Mother Linda did some really great work with rocks and building materials and talking about the importance of having a strong foundation. And of course, we sang some Wesley-inspired hymns about that while we were at it. It was a great service, some important, powerful stories that will carry us through our days today. I'm really grateful that we have this opportunity to come together and talk. And if you don't mind, I would like to close us in prayer.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Faithful God, thank you for the powerful example of Shiphrah and Puah. They chose to fear you rather than the threats of an earthly king. Lord, give us that same deep courage when we face difficult choices. When the world around us promotes harm, division, or fear, give us a quiet and steady resolve to stand for life and truth. Remind us that you do not need superheroes. You use ordinary, faithful people who trust you in everyday moments. Strengthen our hands and our hearts to do what is right, to protect the vulnerable, and to honor you above all else. In your holy name, may it be so. Amen. See you next week,
Amen.
friends.